Greetings, I am Erin Patton, Metaphysical Master in a Millennial Age, and it is my life's purpose to guide you and organizations along an enlightened path. So I invite you to sit comfortably and tune in as I welcome you to the Meta Business Millennial, where we get the real conversations you won't get in the boardroom so that we understand this is exactly the path we need to be on in order to grow, evolve, and thrive. Welcome to the Meta Business Millennial. I am Erin Patton, and I see some of you have already joined the room. Y'all are like, let's do this. Happy Monday. I am so happy to see you all. So thank you so much for your patience because tech issues happened, and today was a tech issue. Let's see. I know it's saying, can y'all hear me now? Let me just pause. Okay, cool. Okay, great. So thank you all for your patience and welcome to the Meta Business Millennial podcast again. And I am so happy to be joined with you guys and exploring what I'm calling today Leadership One-on-One. So if you haven't already, I just highly recommend that you follow me at I am Erin Patton across social media channels. And of course, share this message with a friend if you feel so called. DM me, message me, leave comments. I see everyone's like, yes, y'all can hear me, let's go. Because I talk about leadership, of course, as part of what the meta business world is. And I want us to just get back to the basics of what leadership is. That's why I called it Leadership One-on-One, because here we are we're criticizing people. We're talking about P. Diddy. We're talking about Kamala. We're talking about Connie Chung. I'm bringing up all these different leaders. But at the core, what is leadership? And I'm so glad that Amber, you're in the room today because you sent me a reel about ship, and friendship and stewardship and fellowship and relationships. And of course, I think the one word she missed was leadership. And that it really inspired this conversation because we're always on a journey. So that's why that ship, and then even abandoned ship, if it's not the journey for you, get the hell off the ship, And so I wanted to kind of move with that inspiration of constantly and continually being on a journey. And of course, what kind of journey is it? Well, it's a self-discovery journey. It's a self-development journey. It's a self-awakening journey. That's what the leadership, and that's where the leadership takes you. Because in order to really stand out and be a leader, you got to be the first one. You have to be on the leading edge. You have to be the pioneer. You have to be the rule breaker. And that spot out front, that leader spot out front is generally not a fun place to be. So I think people desire to have that leadership and be seen and be out front and be top notch, but it comes with so much responsibility to whom great responsibility. What is that? When the Superman or Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Well, that's it, 100%. And as a leader, you continually want to be building upon your power. And power, not in the sense of what we think about power over, dominion over, subjugation, you know what I'm saying? Having people submit to you. That is, in many ways, an old view of power. And how we want to be moving forward is thinking about power energetically, metaphysically, because of course, this is the Meta Business Millennial. Of course, I'm a metaphysical master. So every episode, every time you hear me talk, we're going to talk about energy. We're going to talk about how we show up, particularly in our power, in our consciousness. And so to move to the first point, if you will, around what this Leadership One-on-One is standing in your power and growing your power. And I want to get a little bit more technical here because I feel like teaching is critical at this stage. So I'm going to always share personal examples and experiences, but I definitely want to start getting more into the technical aspects. And I want to build upon what I've shared in previous episodes around the map of consciousness and levels of consciousness and how we begin to build upon the power of our consciousness. So As I've talked about the map of consciousness before, which was founded by Dr. David Hawkins, he created the actual matrix of the consciousness that I've shown you guys before in previous episodes. Happy to share again if you're interested. And in that map of consciousness, you'll see that 80% of the world lives below pride. So that means 80% of the world is generally experiencing a lot of anger, a lot of anxiety, a shame, and essentially lower consciousness energies. Yet as we rise in our leadership, we start to experience higher levels of consciousness, including things like acceptance, willingness, love, peace, and then of course, the self-actualization of enlightenment. And so when you're thinking about how to stand in your power, we're thinking about how to stand in your consciousness, where you are consciously, So when you're thinking about where you are consciously, the signals that help you to understand where you are consciously are your emotions and the how dominant these emotions are in your life. So if you're feeling anger, if you're feeling frustration, understand that's where you are. That may not be your baseline level of consciousness, but it's an aspect of where you are. And if you're feeling that a lot, then okay, this is where I am. And it's okay to be there, because trust me, I've been through my levels of consciousness. And like there were seasons, as I talked about before, where I'm waking up every day despondent. I'm waking up every day wanting to take my life. You know what I'm saying? I've had those moments, and that quite possibly could be like the lowest level of consciousness at shame. And, understanding where you are, where you occupy, and where you want to get to. Courage is actually the tipping point. When you're like, yes, I can. Yes, I can do this. That essentially is a tipping point away from sort of like where the rest of the collective is, where the rest of the world is, and then starting to arc towards enlightenment. Courage. Yes, I can. Yes, I can do this. That's why the affirmations, which can be another aspect of your leadership play or tools for your leadership, are so critical in being able to speak to what it is that you want for yourself, what it is that you want for your life, what it is that you desire, that you deeply, deeply desire. And being able to say, yes, I can get there, and trusting that you can get there. So that actually starts to build foundationally your power, your energy, your consciousness. So affirmations, yes, it's great to be positive, but what is the positivity doing in your being? So essentially, it's starting to amplify the light in your body, the positivity, the gratitude, the love. It starts to create higher frequencies in your energetic body. So when you start thinking about who you are as energy, as you are as an electric magnetic being, you have essentially frequencies. And so if you're constantly vibrating at these higher frequencies, then you start to grow the power in your light body. So when people are like, oh my God, Erin, you're so glowy. Oh, Erin, you look so beautiful. What you're actually seeing is my light body. In many ways, many people call it like your auric field. And it does have resonance in my physical being. It does start to amplify my physical being, like my skin and my hair and my smile, my eyes. Yet at the core, what you're absorbing, what you're receiving is my light energy, my soul energy. And if you guys have questions about this, please do just make comments, tap in, because I don't generally get too technical, but we'll continue along this technical path and really starting to articulate like what that light body is. So I know many of you have heard about chakras. The chakra is the Sanskrit word for wheel. And we have 7 major chakras in our light body. So we have our root chakra, we have our sacral chakra, we have our solar plexus, our heart chakra, our throat chakra, our first eye or third eye chakra, and our crown chakra. And so as we start to think about sort of like, then that's in the body. So your legs, your feet, your hips, they all connect to the root. And then all the rest connect to, this physical body here. Yes. Thank you for the beautiful spectrum of chakra hearts. And as you think about your energy in these different fields, it all connects to the larger, broader energetic field that you hold. And this essentially is your consciousness. So that's why, too, when I talked before about Blackness, and when I talked before about being a woman or a man, like these are avatars, these are physical embodiments that we occupy, but our true nature, our true self, our true power lies in our consciousness, which is in many ways kind of like genderless, raceless. It actually is not attached in any way to these third dimensional descriptors or boundaries or limitations that we place on ourselves. So that's why it's so critical to really start to nurture and understand that power in your being, because that power, not that it's separate from you, but it is you. And what you actually see day to day is just something that you have. You know, it's not yours. It's not me, it's mine. Like, this is my body, you know, this is my hair, but it's not me. And so this is getting sort of into that second piece of really understanding who you are. So as you're navigating sort of like the power of your being and the consciousness of your being, understanding that your being in many ways is just an expression of who you are, a temporary expression of who you are. So then you're going to have to start to explore and get curious about, who am I? Who the fuck am I? If I'm not this body, if I'm not this mind, then who am I? And this is the piece where, as a leader, if you aren't asking yourself these questions, then you aren't going to be able to step out on the leading edge. Because how are you going to be able to differentiate yourself from the collective if you aren't knowing and questioning and asking who you are? Then you're just like everybody else. And as much as you may not be aware of that, that's actually what's happening unconsciously. You're really just giving in to the collective mind, collective thinking, because it's, at the end of the day, a power game. So back to the power piece, if the collective consciousness is operating, like I said, at anxiety, at fear, at punishment, at violence, then in many ways your being is going to operate there if you're not doing the work to question and ask yourself, how do I embody more love? How can I bring more peace into my being? How can I have, more willingness and courage to be myself? So this comes a piece about asking and knowing who you are. And there's a question here about the chakras, and it's saying, I'm having trouble with opening my heart chakra. I find it difficult to express my emotions, especially in personal relationships. How will you go about resolving this? Okay, well, that's a two-part question, because you're talking about your heart chakra and then also the expression of emotions. So I'm going to answer those separately and then maybe weave it together, because there are so many layers to the expression of emotions. Excuse me. And when you're talking about the expression of your emotions, it's may or may not be always connected to the heart, even though we're so familiar with the heart being about love and relationships and things like this. That's definitely key. Yet our emotions are deeply tied to our upbringing and our ability to feel safe in our inner child. Our inner child safety is actually more connected to our emotions than our chakras. So I'm going to speak to the emotions piece and then I'll get to the chakra piece, because the inner child work is critical. And I think it gets, I mean, everything now in the healing space is kind of trending, yet in my view, few people really know what they're doing. And so when you're talking about your emotions and your expressions of emotions, that has fundamentally to do with your inner child. And the inner child is actually connected to the root chakra and your security. Obviously, it's connected to all the chakras, but particularly in the expression of emotions is this feeling safe and secure. And depending on where you grew up or how you grew up, many of us as children did not feel safe in our expression of emotions. Particularly for me, when I was a child, I was actually punished for too much expression. And particularly being a woman in the South, I was like doubly criticized for expression. So, and I talked about this recently because even as I was relating it to my hair and my natural hair, like I was always considered wild and loud and I talk too much. And I still kind of get that feedback today, obviously, with what I do. But it created a lot of shame around expression, particularly as I got older, because I wanted to be seen as a lady. I wanted to be accepted as a woman. I wanted to not be wild and crazy and unapproachable or unable to work with other people. So that was a layer of it. And additionally, particularly in my family, expression of emotions was not acceptable because in many ways people didn't know how to deal with them, particularly death or abuse or very difficult subjects. No one talked about that. And there was a lot of silence around trauma. And I love to say this because my mentor has taught me this, but trauma can only live in silence. Once it's spoken out, then there's an opportunity there for healing, or at least for relief and release. Yet when you're holding back emotions or having difficulty speaking your emotions, it's likely due to how we were raised and brought up around our feelings of safety and security. So that kind of answers that piece around personal relationships, well, at least around emotions. Man, it's a multi-part question. And then we're going to get to the heart chakra and the opening of the heart chakra. So you can imagine that this is a spectrum of chakras. So if I'm saying already, your inner child doesn't feel safe. So your root chakra, your first chakra, is imbalanced or unstable. So we're going from the root to the sacral, to the solar, to the heart. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can imagine by the time you get up 4 steps of your energy body, how unstable and imbalanced that heart chakra is going to be, because it's thinking about like any tree, like when you have the roots of the tree. If the roots of the tree are rotten, how the hell are you going to get a tree? And essentially our energetic body operates very much like that. Our roots are what ground us and enable us to grow. But if our grounding is unstable, if our grounding is insecure, if our grounding is unsafe, then we're not going to be able to grow harmoniously. We're going to be growing a little bit out of balance. So you can expect that as you feel shut off in your emotions and you don't feel safe and you don't feel secure, that your ability to love is definitely going to be tainted. And I feel you 100% because essentially, we're all there. We're all trying to heal our insecurities, heal our instabilities, so that we may show up better for each other in love. Show up, first of all, for ourselves better in love. So, and when we're talking about sort of the heart chakra, you have to think about the whole system. Like this is a holistic approach to leadership. We can't really compartmentalize or separate things. We really have to think about the whole. And when you're thinking about your personal relationships, whether they're romantic or friendships or family members, they are the most triggering because they fundamentally are based in emotions. I just have to say that truth. That's why everyone's so career driven and so professionally focused, because it's really easy to have transactional relationships, which we're trying to get away from, what the meta business world is trying to get away from in business. Yet it's easier to have transactional relationships where there isn't depth of emotion, where there isn't any requirement of expression, where you can cut a motherfucker off, where you can betray someone and just take it to court. No emotions involved. And that's generally how we start to approach our personal relationships, which it doesn't work that way because personal relationships are fundamentally emotional ones. So all of our inner child wounding shows up so loud and so clear and so painfully in our personal relationships. So, how would I go about resolving this? I would first start with the nurturing of the inner child. And essentially, this is what I'm doing now too. I'm dating. I've been single my whole life. I've never been married, and so I'm still trusting in and believing in, God preparing my divine mate for me. So in the meantime, what do I need to do? I need to nurture my inner Erin, my little Erin, making sure that she feels safe, making sure that she feels cared for, making sure that whatever that she feels betrayed by or disrespected on, that I'm actually speaking it out, whether it comes out ugly or with an attitude or as a bitch, it needs to come out because I never had a chance to stand up for her before. So it's going to look a little bit ugly because I've never had the practice. So right now I'm learning how to parent myself. And I talked about this before with a friend just yesterday, because our parents did their best, and their parents, God bless them, the wars and we already know how the 20th century looked for people around the world. It was hard. Survival was all that they could focus on. So we don't have, most of us around the world are beyond that survival state, well beyond that survival state, yet we still are operating with this survival mindset of fear. So it is important to nurture all those fearful aspects of your younger self, of your inner self, and how it shows up, how you feel abandoned, someone doesn't call you or doesn't text you back the way you want to, you feel abandoned, you feel resentful. So being able to notice these emotions, name them for what it is. Damn, I'm feeling jealous, or I'm feeling envious, or I'm feeling abandoned, and being able to nurture it yourself and, of course, communicate it to the other person. And if the other person is unable to receive this from you, then you know that, wow, maybe our energies aren't aligned right now, and I need to be able to find someone who can hear me out. Whether I'm yelling or screaming or, sending, however it's looking, that person needs to be able to hold space for your good, bad, and ugly emotions. And that really is what leadership is, what friendship is. Being able to lead yourself and guide yourself is the best resolution, I believe, for that which you're asking. And, I hope that this is resonating with some people, because that was a very long-winded, response to that. But I'll go ahead and start wrapping things up, since we're getting close to time, around that leadership and how it connects back to our power. And I was speaking very specifically about our power and our energetic body. And getting back to the basics of what the energetic body is. It's our chakra system. It's our light body. It's our toroidal energy, if you will. That's actually the proper term, our biofield, our Merkaba. These are all terms used to describe the energetic body. And as we begin to nurture that energetic body, that's our consciousness as well. Then our consciousness starts to grow. We begin to be able to stand more in our power, be more in our power, so that we can really start to understand what I brought to the second piece around who we are. And once you begin to start getting curious about who you are, questioning all those limiting beliefs about how you show up in this physical body, about what people taught you in school, what your parents taught you, what your family taught you, what they told you that made you feel uncomfortable, question all of those things. We have to begin to get curious about who we are, because fundamentally that's how we learn about ourselves. That's how we cultivate that inner dialogue. And that's how we begin to stand up more in our leadership as a leader. Because as I said before, that leader begins within you. And you have to begin to ask yourself, like, who am I? Why do I want to be able to do this kind of work? Why do I want people to bring people along? Asking all of these different kinds of questions that then begin to unlock and unpack, our relationships to people as well. Like, I'm glad this question brought up, because it's a great third piece around understanding, okay, wow, I'm noticing as I'm unpacking who I am, I have a lot of difficulty in my personal relationships. And I need to nurture my inner child. I need to nurture that inner me. And being able to know that that little version of me is loved, is held, is protected, is safe all the time. Even in the face of adversity, even in the face of criticism, that's what leadership is. Being able to know who the fuck you are when people are putting you down, throwing shit at you, blaming you. How do you stand up to that without getting angry, without wanting to kill someone? Because this is actually how it's been solved in the past. And this is what we see played out in our world every day. Countries get offended, political regimes get offended, and next thing you know, people dropping bombs, spying on people, killing people, kidnapping people. It just can't continue like this. And it actually won't continue like this. And the only way that we can continue to even exist in this planet in a healthy and safe way is to do this inner work. There's no other way we're going to be able to change the world. We're going to just continue the same patterns, the same violent behavior, the same selfish behavior of little children, essentially in adult bodies that don't know how to resolve and deal with their emotions. And that, at the end of the day, is what it is. Grown men acting out as little boys. Grown women even acting out as wounded, abused little girls. But that doesn't have to be me and you, because we have the awareness, first of all. And when you have the awareness, that actually is like 90% of the work. Once you're able to see, like, oh, wow, like, I don't want to be like this. Actually, I want to be like this. So that's even higher. You know what you like when you know what you don't like. So when you know I don't like this, then I know I like a peaceful world. I like a peaceful existence. I want to have a lot of wealth. I want to have a lot of pleasurable experiences. Well, how do I get there? Well, here, let's just read some of these comments, because it's a shift to be mindful of your responses, and it's wiser to know the best way to resolve through communication. And the mindful response and the resolution through communication take a deep emotional maturity of self. Because like I said, even to be able to open your mouth to communicate takes courage. And we know that's another step and level of consciousness, to be able to courageously say, and be mindful about how you feel, even another step. But how do you get to those steps? By building fundamentally your power. And you build that energetic power in so many ways: the energy healing, the yoga, eating well, meditation. That actually is what helps to grow that energetic power. And, so many people that need to be here need to hear this. Thank you so much for Flag the Great for sharing that, because I don't doubt that people will hear this. And that's my embodiment of what I teach, is that I can look at the 3, 5, whatever, 10 people in this room and know that actually tens of millions of people need to hear this. But I'm so grounded in who I am and where God is taking me and the purpose of my work that I trust and know that so many people will hear this, that hundreds of millions of people will hear this. We may not see it right now, but I know and I feel it in my being. That's where God is taking me, and that's where God is taking this message, and that is why I'm here. And I want all of you to feel just as convicted in who you are, in your purpose, and why you're here, because that is leadership. When you know exactly why you're here, and it doesn't even matter what you see or what's showing up for you or what's in your bank account, that you know so deeply and truly that this is what it is, that's leadership, and it's already done. Like how asking it is given. It's already been given to me. We just have to wait and see it. The manifestation is not here. And that's what I'm talking about too in the metaphysical aspect, is you must have the vibration. You must have the frequency of love, of enlightenment, of change, of leadership before you can actually experience it. What we've been experiencing has been a chain of unconscious events for many, many years. But now we have the ability to create a chain of conscious events that we will be seeing played out for the rest of our lives. So when you start to get intentional and conscious about what you do, then you can best believe and guarantee that your life will be amazing because you are creating it consciously. And so with that, I want to just go ahead and wrap it up. I really feel like today's message, it was really impromptu, as they generally are. I'm coming through with the channel. I talk, I connect back to God before I do this podcast. I give myself, even today, just a few seconds because I was dealing with the technical issues. So I appreciate you guys, for that little delay in the beginning. But we have to understand that we come back to God for everything. For our power, for who we are, what we know, for our inner child healing, so that we can show up in true leadership. All right, you all. So thank you so much for tuning in. I really, really encourage you to check out my resources and offerings on erinpatton.com. I do this work with companies. I do this work with teams. I do my keynote speaking, my Meta Business VIP day. I do my meta strategy work with teams that really help to clarify your organization's vision, create a set of values that can create a roadmap for your organization to really begin to heal and grow and expand and have long-lasting, sustainable potential and profitability. And of course, I do that work alongside my meta coaching, which is really great for leaders that really want to grow their power, that want to understand more technically what I was speaking to today in terms of the chakras and the light body, the healing activations, the energy transmissions, the energy clearings, the pieces that don't get talked about so much in the public sphere, but that are critical in allowing your light body, your physical body, your integrated body to operate at its highest potential. And that does take work. And that one-on-one coaching is a beautiful opportunity to begin to get exposed to that work so that you can really begin to grow and move in the leadership that you deserve. So thank you all again. And I look forward to seeing you all on next week's episode of the Meta Business Millennial. Much love and light. Peace. Did you really love this episode of the Meta Business Millennial podcast? Well, I am honored, and I appreciate you subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends, because your feedback allows us to co-create more enlightened conversations. And if you're interested in growing your soul now, head over to my website, erinpatton.com, to find all the show notes, links, and free resources to get your energy activated today. In the meantime, stay bright, my friends. Much love and light. Peace.